if the opportunity came, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking a chunk out of it. I want a piece of that blade.
This is the last chance I'm going to get at designing a Hypershock for a toy, so it had to be perfect.
They knew that they couldn't really go weapon to weapon, so they went weapon to side of weapon.
We hit the jackpot in Vegas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And I'm really excited. Usually, when I get to talk about something, a person, event, a robot, whatever, that is fairly new to me, but not really new because it's an old event that's been around for a while, and many people kind of first got their start in combat robotics there. So we're all here to talk about mass destruction, which is coming up in August. So really excited to have everyone here. Welcome.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I don't know that introductions are needed. If anybody's watched this show, I think everybody knows all of these folks, but I have Brandon, Tony, David, and Lucy here to talk about mass destruction, which it seems like everybody's really excited about this. It sounds like we've got, kind of competitors registered, kind of gearing up, ready to go. So whoever wants to, first of all, tell me about the history of this amazing event, because it sounds like it goes back a long way, back before I ever knew that there was anything beyond BattleBots. So please tell me all about it.
Yeah, I mean, the event itself goes back probably 2015. Unfortunately, Sarah Paretsky or Fred Moore would know better because they were running it back when it was at Artisans Asylum in Somerville. But it has been going back for quite a while. And like you mentioned, a lot of people like really got their start there. I first competed with the two of them there, and I know a lot of these other people started there too. And so unfortunately, it really kind of got stuffed by COVID like everything else did. But recently we've been trying to build it back, and I'm sure everyone else has like really good stories about older when they got their started in Mass D too.
Yeah,
you can take it, David.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was one of those early builders. I joined the combat community in 2016. That was my freshman year at WPI. We got this whole group of freshman kids together who eventually became Team Robot. But years before we had any dreams about actually being on the show, we were competing at Mass D. Fred met us. He used to make fun of us for being a homogenous mass. Nothing changed when we became Team Robot. We remained the exact same homogenous mass. But it was really where we got our start in combat. We met the community, like Brandon was saying, like most of Omega was there. Not yet Omega team, but starting the process of becoming friends. And the robots are very different back then. The competition in the insect weight class has changed a ton, mostly because of Norwalk Havoc. But that didn't exist. When we were getting into this, the only thing that we had was Mass D. It was local for us. It ran consistently enough for us to actually iterate and learn. And honestly, it was a lot of fun back then with how bad the Beetles used to be. Machine parts were pretty rare, a lot of 3D printed stuff, a lot of 2D machine things. And yeah, it was really fun. And as Brent was saying, like Fred put in so much legwork getting us up and running back then.
Yeah, and part of the reason we're bringing the event back is that Mass D has always been, the focus is on fun. We wanted everyone to have fun. It was kind of a chill environment where people got to learn from each other. And like as an example, back in the day, it's like if you were overweight, we wanted you to fight anyway. It's just you would have some kind of handicap. So you'd have to wear like Fred's funny colored glasses, or you'd have to drive with your transmitter upside down or something like that. We want you to fight anyway, and everyone's here just to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything they've said is the spirit of why this event is great. I actually competed in 2017, and I was the same event that Corey competed at the first time as well. But Charles from Overhaul was there. Fred, Sarah, and I actually competed the last one before COVID, and I met Evan Arias there, and that actually is what got us both into do BattleBots eventually with Pain Train. So I have a lot of roots in it, and my kids have both grown up around it too because it was so accessible and local to us. But I'm glad that it's back, and I'm glad we can do something, especially for our immediate community, where some other events are not as attainable, not as easy to get into now because they're at capacity. So at least for our local community of builders, especially offering a plastic ant division, which no one's really offering that in the area. So that's a much easier path of entry for people and cost of entry because anybody can just get a 3D printer really and compete in that division. So it's great. I mean, we ran the last event last year and it was fantastic, and we're excited for the next one. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you said plastic ants. Kind of tell me about the different divisions. I assume that it's probably plastic ants, beetles, but please kind of tell me about that and about how many competitors do you expect in these divisions.
Brandon, you want to take that one? Yeah, I think you
Sure.
have the numbers.
Yeah, so we're running beetles and plastic ants. We're doing the exact same thing we ran last time, which is 24 beetles and 18 plastic ants. We considered bumping the numbers a little bit, and I think we will in the future. But for this event, we're building, and this might be news. I don't know if we've talked about this much publicly, but we're building an entirely new arena for this event specifically. So there's a lot of effort going on behind the scenes to build that arena. So with all the stuff that's happening there, and it's not going to cause, we hope at least, not cause much on site, but we're like, all right, with all this other stuff that we're dealing with, let's keep the numbers where they were. And then as we turn this into a more regular event, this is now going to be 2 events in 8 months, and we want to kind of make it at the 2 to 3 events a year kind of scale. We might ratchet the numbers up a little bit because we did see an absurd amount of interest for the event. So we might ratchet up a little bit, but the thing that we do not want to do is sacrifice the experience of the builders. So we don't want to end up in a situation where we're competing really late or people aren't really having as much fun, or we're in a situation where it's like the museum closes down and we can't have the finals shown to all the people who are there live, all these kind of situations that could happen. So like I said, we're keeping the scope the same for this event. And then as we say, okay, maybe if we end a little bit earlier, we can say, okay, maybe we can add for the next event, add 2 to 4 slots to beetles or something like that, and get into a situation where we can still run the same still end at the same amount of time and kind of maximize what we can do during the day. But like I said, not sacrifice the experience of the people who are there.
Yeah, one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got from the competitors was how much more desirable the pace is at MassD compared to some other events. And they ended the event not incredibly tired. Everyone was able to do the repairs they wanted to. No one had any issues where they're entering the box in completely suboptimal conditions. And I think it was a pretty big breath of fresh air for a lot of those competitors to just come and have fun while competing.
Yeah, I think that's great because, something that I have found in my experience is that if you're not having fun, it makes for just a really terrible day, or at least part of the day is not that great. So I completely understand that. For those that are competing, tell me a little bit about just generally what they can expect. Maybe if it's for somebody that hasn't done the event before, is there anything in particular that is noteworthy to know for competitors? Other than just
Tony,
show
you
up
want
at
to
the
Tony,
show.
you want to
I can probably hit this.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can probably speak a little bit better on this because my daughter does compete. So I was there running it and with the competitors. So number one, the venue that we have is amazing. The Museum of Industry is phenomenal. And the nice thing is that when you go to attend the event, you get access to the whole museum. So it's really just awesome to see just kind of the history of all these different machines and things like that, which is pretty cool. We do have some of the BattleBots on display there. Some of our larger robots are there. I think last time we had Ripperoni, Starchild, Ribot was there, Valkyrie. I don't think we had P1. P1 wasn't there, right? I don't believe so. But we have access, obviously, to a lot of robots in the area, and we'll obviously have some on display when we're there for the events. But the actual staging area with tables and stuff like that is very well laid out. You've got plenty of space for a 3-pound or 1-pound plastic. The pace is fantastic. I mean, really quick safety. Everything's really expedited. And we have a lot of staff. I mean, that's the cool thing about this. We're kind of utilizing so many different BattleBots squads and just robotic fighting teams in general from the area and friends and people in our orbit that you can always find somebody if you have a question. And it's not like you're running around with not knowing what to do. Brandon and Fred ran the webcast the entire time, and it's very high quality webcast. Graphics, the whole nine, and they keep people engaged the entire time. But even just access for the crowd. I mean, we have 3 sides for viewing area, plus a competitor side to watch as well. We have merch there. I mean, it's a great event just to enter and fight, or just to go and spectate in general. It's just you're not kind of in the back of a makerspace with like this much room. I mean, it's pretty. If you need to take a breather or go for a walk or something, you can. I mean, we take a nice break for lunch and stuff like that. So we keep the pace going pretty good, and I think the overall product is fantastic. Just from the work we've all put in, and I will say this, just seeing the work that Brandon specifically has put into the arena, there's a lot of things that he's put into this that are going to change. I think a lot of people's perspective of how to build arenas in the future. I think a lot of things that we've learned over the years of how to repair stuff quickly, or how to prevent a lot of damage to the arena or damage to your bots inadvertently, we've kind of resolved in some of the innovation he's put into it. And I will say, Norwalk actually kind of evolved from MassD originally. So some of those arenas and some of those methods and even some of the safety aspects and rules came from MassD, and that's what's kind of evolved now into what as NHRL. I don't know if there's anything else we can add to it, but it's just a fantastic event overall, and I think anybody that attends is going to have a wonderful time.
Yeah, if you want a fun story about that specifically, so the very first arena that was at Norwalk, I don't know if it's still one of their functional, well, not functional arenas, but still one of their like live arenas, or if it's one of the Brett cages, or what they do, which one it is, because they have a million now. But the very first arena was built. I don't know who specifically was building it, but I think it was designed by Charles Guan. And so it was built for MassD, and then the very last MassD event that it performed at was in New York, was actually the mass destruction in not mass, right? But so we took it down to Flushing, to Queens, for the New York Maker Faire in 2018, and we cannonballed it down in Charles's van truck, and everyone was stuffed into the back of the van truck. Shockingly comfortable rear seat, by the way. But coming back, it all fit in the truck. Coming back at God knows o'clock, probably 1:30 in the morning, stopped in Norwalk at the 50-Day Street building and built the arena in there. And that's what was the first arena for, if you look back at those old events, that was the arena for it, was the old MassD arena. Like I said, I don't know whether it's still functional or what they use it for, or if it's still around. But I always kind of got a kick out of that. Now it's kind of coming full circle. For the last event, Norwalk was gracious enough to lend us one of their arenas, and now we're kind of building our own that's kind of the next revision of that design. So it's kind of funny how everyone kind of helps each other out, and it all kind of comes full circle.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most important things about the combat robotics community, because if it wasn't for everybody helping each other, like, it would be really hard for the sport to grow. So it's great that everybody's been able to do that. Now, I wanted to expand a little bit, because I don't think that I talk about like organizing an event enough, and like the sheer scope of what that takes, because I see a lot of people that'll say, oh, I'd like to start an event, and maybe don't understand everything that has to go into that to make it successful. It's not really just going to a place and being like, oh, here's a building and I'll find a cage and we'll set it up and we'll have an event. There's like so much more that goes into it. So I kind of want to expand a little bit like on the scope of what that entails.
Yeah, I wish we had Stocky here for that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much that goes into the event, and she handled most of it last time. But it includes like safety is number one, so you got to get a safe arena. You have to have insurance, which is something that we like didn't really think about initially. And there's just getting the website up so that people can register, handling all the payment, handling the dropouts. And then there's like handling the staff during the day of the event. There's all these things.
Yeah, and it's you have a plan going into every event. You think everything's going to go swimmingly, but hopefully you couldn't tell from last event. But we actually didn't have an arena until the day before. We had a whole bunch of issues acquiring an actual box for the event beforehand. We weren't able to work them out in time, and that's why Orlok ended up bailing us out by lending us an arena. So like I think like 48 hours beforehand, right? Something like that. We still didn't know what was happening for the arena.
Drive down, disassemble, pack up, drive up, assemble, fight, disassemble, pack up, drive down. Crazy.
Yeah.
So the whole crew had to be super, super on their feet, and everyone was on their A game to get that together and running in time for the event.
Plus, there was like everybody had to transport all the big robots into the museum, and the museum was great. We even had to like move museum pieces out of the way to get the robots in to get it to fit through the door on the ramp. But live the day of the event, anything can go wrong. There's some like in the case of fire, we kind of had to think about thinking on our feet. What would be our plan to get the fire out of the building as fast as possible? Although luckily didn't have anything happen last time. But these are all just things that we have to prepare for. But luckily with our whole crew, everybody's extremely experienced with all different scales of robot fighting and all the different things that could go wrong. So everybody's kind of seen how things could be handled and how things could be handled well.
Yeah, I would say it definitely helps when you have an event that is organized by BattleBots builders that have, done this countless times. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about if you have, the information on competitors and any of the robots that, are going to plan on showing up for this. Because I think most people in the community are pretty familiar with most of the robots that are out there and kind of compete frequently. So I just wanted to see if you had any names of bots that we can expect to see.
Yeah, we got the list up. So some of the teams that were there and were extremely competitive last time are back, especially some of the ones in the plastic ant class. Under Destruction was a really, really strong lifter robot that was driven really well, had a really, really wonderful team. They're all great to work with, and they're back this time. Pineapple, Flamboyant Cuddles, a couple of these other robots on the plastic ant side, Auntie-Ant. Everyone's got to grief the EOs, right? With respect to the names. Oh, and speaking of griefing the EOs, we have what are we looking at? I think there's and help are three different robots. So always grief the EOs. Those might get a forcible Frederick Moore name change during the event. We'll see if that happens. But
which would be in line with classic Mass D. Fred woke up one Mass D and decided that nobody's robot name, should be the robot name they registered with. So we all got renamed day of, and Fred committed to it for the entire day of announcing.
Yeah, I have also been name changed by Frederick.
Yeah.
Red Panda did really well last time. I'm just kind of pulling these guys off of the list and seeing who I can recall did really well.
So Division's on the waiting list, and Division obviously is Seth Schaefer's robot, and he's competed all over the place. Chubby Unicorn, that's a big one. Quicksand 2, which actually he's competed in almost every Mass D like ever, and so that robot's kind of a historic one.
But Christine, I think part of the like cool factor of this event is that it's not all big names, right? As they're looking through this list, they are trying to pull out, the names that people would recognize. However, in that list, there's also so many new builders or builders bringing new bots. It's a lower pressure, situation and an opportunity for people to test new designs or even get into the sport for the first time, which was, like we were saying before, how a lot of us started. So yeah, there's some big names, but there are also definitely going to be a lot of new builders, and we want to continue to kind of push that culture where if you're thinking about trying to join combat robotics, we hope Masty is a really good avenue for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As somebody who's still finding my way in that. Now, for people, I mean, obviously, like it sounds like there's a wait list and stuff like that. But for future competitions, I mean, as all of you being kind of seasoned builders, what's the best advice that you can give for people that are trying to build something new or trying to build for the first time? I mean, for myself, I've definitely found that like shooting for the moon right away is not the way to go. It's better to go with something that lends itself a little bit more to being able to learn, like building a lifter, for example. I had much more success with my lifter just because it's a little bit easier to navigate. So for all of you, what do you think is the best like tips that you can give somebody?
Who's up? Who are we going with?
I'll take it. It's fine.
Okay.
I would say, it's I know you said the shoot for the moon thing. Sometimes shoot for Jupiter and hit the moon. Sometimes you go high and maybe some things work and some things don't. I think the other thing is be prepared. Bring a lot of spares too. It's even batteries. Like people bring one battery and they don't realize like charging a battery to get turned around it takes a little while. So spares of everything is really important. It's not just for you and your sanity, but like the people you're fighting against, and obviously the event organizers, because we can only push and move things around so much, and not to get frustrated. This is one of those things that you're going to go out there and you make a punch in the face really hard and get destroyed in one hit, and that just happens in general, even with experienced builders. Sometimes the hits like that happen. So don't get frustrated and ask people that are there. I mean, there are people that are more experienced or people that'll lend a hand, give some advice. No one's there to this isn't cutthroat. It's people want to help and kind of elevate everybody. So ask your neighbor, become friends with them immediately. That's usually the best thing to do. And just ask a lot of questions. That's usually the best thing to do to get better. Iterate your design. See what worked and what didn't. So when you come back next time, you're a little bit stronger in that department. And eventually you can refine your design to get exactly where you want to be. Start with the plastic ants first. It's way cheaper and easier too. I highly recommend that. But I don't know. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would just say build what makes you interested, right? The thing that I can't remember what her name was, but the interior designer talking about things that spark joy or do not spark joy. Only build things that spark joy. And for me, it's like I can get a third of the way into a design, halfway into design, 90% of the way through the design. And I'm like, this doesn't do it anymore. I don't feel like it. And I'll just ditch it. And so if you can find something that is interesting to you, whether that's competitive or otherwise, even if it could be for many reasons, right? It could be like, this is a design that is not wildly innovative, but I think it's going to be really competitive and that interests me. Or it's something that like nobody has done before that's different. It might not be wildly competitive, but it's something that's going to be really cool. Like the winner of our extreme silliness award last event was a robot called Snorkels the Elephant, which was a big wheel robot with a horizontal spinner that he could use to essentially keep the spinner in plane and drive with no, like, if you imagine like Huge or Star Child has legs that come down and touch the ground, he didn't have any of that. He was just using the gyroscopic forces of the flywheel in order to keep his robot somewhat pointed on the right tack, which is pretty wild.
He's using divine intervention to drive that, but
yeah,
he was an absolute menace the whole day, like just massacring people.
If that's what brings you joy, build that. That's what my recommendation would be.
I think we have to give our disclaimer: safety first. Whether you're at the competition or while you're building and testing, just make sure you're always doing what you can to be as safe as possible.
I think I'd like to add test early and test often. So as you're building stuff, we always say try to finish stuff early. I know that's a big ask, but as soon as you get stuff ready, drive it around, test it, see if it'll work safely, as David said. And if you can do it before the day of the event, great. If it has to be at the event, then that's fine. Keep your expectations at a reasonable spot, and you can see the event as a great test and just come back next time. As Tony said, iterate.
If you're gonna get there early and do that.
Yeah.
Don't get there 5 minutes before. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And also, if you've never watched videos on soldering and don't know how to solder, I would highly recommend watching as many videos on that as possible before you attempt it. There's no particular reason why I'm saying that.
You can get practice kits on Amazon for soldering. They're tremendously helpful.
Yes.
Definitely recommend on my end.
So one thing that Brandon actually touched on that I don't think we have got, we kind of maybe glazed over it when we're going over the overall event, but we do have a lot of really unique awards, and it's not just you win this division or lose this division. We have a lot of awesome awards for just overall silliness and just really kind of specific awards that are just for the event, sometimes a one-off type thing. I know that Alex Crease is working on some stuff for us, and our awards are very cool. They're all kind of like this highway theme sign or some sort of silly Massachusetts related inside joke type deal. But I don't have the awards off the top of my head. And Brandon, you may have them. I don't know what the ones are for this event.
Yeah, the two new ones that we're looking at for this event are the Unsteroid Your Drive Award for Best Repair, which is going to be the best Mass D trophy yet, for sure. That will be very funny, but that's essentially just for best repair. So it's essentially just, there's other events that have like a most destroyed award. We're kind of trying to spin it in a positive way. It's like if you get wrecked and then you come back and you fight again, that's really commendable, and we want to celebrate you for that. So we're giving an award for that. And then also the main sponsor for this event is Leaf Labs, which is an embedded software company from Cambridge, and they've been tremendously helpful as far as getting this event off the ground and getting our new arena built. And they're sponsoring an award for best rookie. And I don't know whether the specific wording is rookie driver or rookie captain or however we have worded it, but essentially it's the best rookie builder, whoever is kind of new to the sport and is really kind of embodying what we like to see of really enjoying the fun and having a good time and enjoying their time at Mass D. That's what that's for. So we're hoping the best rookie builder award, sponsored by Leaf Labs, is also something else that we have a very good competition for.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. I love those random awards so much, which is why I kind of created my own last year. It's something that I think is just so fun to do, and give people the opportunity to, win for those things. Now, I know that the event is on August 24th. What else does anybody need to know if they plan on attending the event? As I'm sure many people locally will want to do that.
I can
I
take
got the
this
mom
too.
moment.
You
The
got
mom
it?
moment is bring water. No, that's my
Yeah.
whole thing. Bring water. It's a long day. You're going to be working hard. You're going to be sweaty. It's very intense for the fights. It's very intense for the repairs. Stay hydrated.
Yeah. For spectators, the admission is the same is essentially just admission to the museum, which is $10 for adults and $5 for children. And so with that, you get admission to obviously not only just the robot event, but also the rest of the venue. So we would love for you to go and take a look at the rest of the venue. The museum supports us and we would like to support them. So that and the rest of the venue is really, really awesome to see. So that's really good. And yeah, take advantage of the breaks that you have. When we get breaks, get food, all that. And then also too, as far as parking goes, so the parking is clearly spelled out on the Charles Rivers Museum of Industry Innovation's website. However, if you just kind of show up, it's definitely not self-explanatory. If you park like literally there's like this little side area next to the building. If you park there, that's where the parking for a nearby apartment complex is, and you will get yoinked. So if you're planning on driving in, definitely take a look at the parking information. We're going to send it out as well. We did before the last event. We'll do it before this event as well. But just take a look. It's really close. There's a parking lot right across the river, and you walk over this pretty little footbridge to the museum itself. But like I said, not necessarily self-explanatory. So if you're planning on driving in and you haven't been there before, definitely check that out.
I would.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah. I would also say the best way to get any information for what we're doing all the time is our Facebook page, which is Massachusetts Destruction. Facebook.com/Massachusetts Destruction. That'll have all the information. We'll probably put a little thing up there with like parking and some hints on what to do as a competitor or a spectator. And that's the easiest way to probably get a hold of us as well on there, just by sending a message or just commenting. We're always in there kind of engaging with people. So yeah, so Facebook.com/Massachusetts Destruction.
Yes, and I will throw a link in the description for anybody that needs to have that. Very cool. Well, I'm certainly excited. Oh, the last thing, actually, I was going to ask about this too. I always assume that it is, but is it going to be streamed in any way for anybody who is not local?
Yes, absolutely. We'll be posting the link. We have our Omega Team YouTube channel be the exact same place that the last one was. We'll be posting the stream beforehand, so you'll have a scheduled thing if you want to like bookmark it and come back or follow it. You can do that. And it's going to be better than last time. It was really good last time, and we got a lot of positive feedback, but there was a lot of things in the moment where I was like, because I was the one sitting there running it, was like, oh, I wish I had done this differently or that differently. So we're going to have all new graphics. We're going to be streaming in 1080p this time. We weren't sure that we could handle it last time, so we streamed in 720, and this time we're all confident, and we're going to be streaming in 1080p, which is really cool. So if you want to watch it, that'll be up on the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. So very excited for that.
And the YouTube channel is at Omega Robotics Team. If you guys want to search it off of here. So.
Yes, exactly. And if you're jonesing for some robot merchandise, make sure that you visit robotsruinmylife.com. Just gonna plug that real quick.
Thanks for the plug. I appreciate that.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Tony. Is there gonna be merch at the event?
There will be merch at the event. We actually put up our full Omega tent with merchandise from all of not just event specific merch, but we actually last time we had a bunch of Hexbug stuff, and we sold some BattleBots merch for all the teams that are there. And obviously that money goes back into the event to help run the event and cover some of the overhead that we take on. So I'm happy to be there doing that, helping run the event and supporting my daughter fighting. So everybody does a lot. So
yeah, well, that's very cool. I certainly am looking forward to this. I hope that everybody else is looking forward to this. Certainly hope that there's more of these events to come. I would like other options of places to go to. So this sounds like a lot of fun. But yeah, for anybody that's watching, please check my links in the description. Follow Mass Destruction, check out what they've got going on. Make sure that you follow this channel, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Share it, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.